Now you need to know how to initialize and configure your basic router. Um, the routers and Cisco switches have very similar commands, but they're not exact. So let's go through and talk about some of the things you're going to need to do on your router. This is a good place for you to write down all these commands. You will get in a habit of keying them in, and the more you key them, the more you're going to remember them. Similar to configuring a switch, the following steps should be completed when configuring initial settings on a router. You're going to assign the name using host name in global configs. So here, in order to get to global configs, you're going to enable, then you're going to go to configure terminal. Some of the shortcuts is you can do en and then config t. Give it the host name. You're going to want to set a password. If you do enable secret class, it's going to encrypt your password. You're going to secure your executive mode access using the login command on the console port and the password command to set the password. That way someone can't walk up to your router, plug into your console port, and have access to your router. You need to make sure that you have a password on it. You're going to secure your virtual access similar to securing the executive access mode, except you'll type VTY on the port. So here I have line VTY. You'll do 0 to 4. There are 5 lines and we count 0 as one of them. You'll put your password, you'll log in and exit. And then it tells us to use the service password encryption. That way it encrypts the console and the VTY lines as well. Next, we're going to provide legal notification using the banner MOTD, that's the banner message of the day, in global configurations. So while we're still here in the config, we're going to do banner, a space, MOTD with a space. Then you're going to use a character that you wouldn't typically use when typing your message. I typically use the % because I'm not typically going to put the % in my text. Then you're going to type your warning. Do not put welcome. There have been cases brought before the judge in court where people have hacked into someone's system and they said, look, I signed in, I got access to the router, it said welcome, thought I was welcome to be in there, and the case was thrown out. So be careful here. Save your configs. Like I said, you're going to do copy running config startup config. You'll hit enter twice, or you can do copy run start. Then you're going to verify the configuration using show run, and that's going to give you the example and show you what all you have configured. Here it tells me to enter the commands to configure the name of the router. So this is going to let you practice your syntax because it has to be correct. So from here you would have to enable, and on this it's going to make you type it out completely. Okay, see how it doesn't like it if you try to do the abbreviations? It wants you to do the host name. So host name R1. It is case sensitive. Okay, so go through here and practice this. If you can't remember what the command is, you can do show me and it'll show you the next command. And if you need to, you can do show all to learn the commands. Then I would reset it and go through it again. This is an excellent tool to practice configuring your router. You will have a packet tracer. Next are instructions on how to configure the interfaces themselves. If you're using IPv4, you'll do interface, and this one is interface gigabit Ethernet 00. That is this port here. You do the IP address, and that includes its address plus its subnet mask. Then you can type description. Give it a description so that you know exactly what this one is. This one says that it is the link to LAN 10. Then you do no shutdown. No shutdown actually turns the interface on so that it's no longer shut down. Then we would type exit, and you can configure the next interface. Okay, I've covered all that. Again, you can practice configuring your devices here. It does want everything spelled out. Remember that when you're practicing. One of the things you can do if you're on a live system is if you can't remember the full command, you can start typing it out. You can possibly hit tab, it will complete it, or you can type a question mark and it will, in the real setting, it will give you some help information. Then you want to verify your interface connections, and to do that you'll do show IP interface brief, and it shows you which ones are up, and you'll want it to say up and up. Those are the ones who are up and working. You can also ping to make sure your pings are going through. Those are the two commands that you're going to use. There's other interface verification commands that you can use. You can do the show IP route, or show interfaces, or show IP interfaces. But the quick ones are pinging and then doing the show IP interface brief. Most routers have a minimum of 2 interfaces, and each interface is configured with a separate IP address and a separate network. Remember, we talked about that earlier. For an end device to communicate over the network, it must be configured with the correct IP address information, including the default gateway address. That way it knows where it's going out. Here in figure 1, PC1 is sending a packet out to PC2. They are on the same network, so it's just going through the switch in order to go from PC1 to PC2. In example 2 here, PC1 is needing to send a packet to PC3, which is on a different network. So it has to have the default gateway in its addressing scheme so that it knows which gateway or which interface on the router to use. A default gateway is used by all devices that require the use of a router to determine the best path to a remote destination, and end devices require default gateway addresses, but so do intermediate devices such as your switch. So it has to have a default gateway. It has to know where it's headed out as well. You'll practice that here in this packet tracer and this one, and then we have a lab as well. So that is Chapter 6 on the network layer. Please let me know if you have any questions, and don't forget that you're more than welcome to come to campus and work in our open lab setting.